everybody. Hi, you're welcome. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Department.
We can still wait for one more minute if people are getting ready. Yeah, okay, thank you. I can see very familiar faces that most of you have been participating for the last 3 days. Christian and Vivian, Victoria, Catalina, and Kelly. I've seen you. Thank you for being part of it. Same as Damaris and Kayla. Vivian, you're pretty welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Actually, I've seen some of your work on YouTube, and I think it's amazing what you have been doing. Incredible.
Thank you.
And I want to continue, you know, to be connected to all of you somehow.
Yeah, we have to do it. It's a must that we have now, right?
Yeah, and the work done by the students as well.
Yeah, yes.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, pretty well. I think Miss Sandra Santander is getting in. She's part of the teacher staff. Hi, Sandra.
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you again. Jean, nice to see you.
The last time I saw you was in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You're so different now.
Yes.
Well, you know, if we say at 7, I think we should start.
I think we should. Javier, are we ready to start? Or are people still coming in?
Slowly, but I don't think it's a problem if we start.
Okay, let's start. Yep. Right. Okay, Elvis, this is your turn.
Sorry, I'm sorry. That's it. Okay, thank you very much for being here. Good evening to everyone, especially to our international guests who have had the time to be with us today. Thank you very much. And to all the people who is participating in this last edition or last session of this event, Connecting Generations. Please be welcome. Now I'm going to formally introduce our two guests today. In first, we have Professor Dr. Jim Anderson. He is a professor of music emeritus and retired as the assistant to the vice president for the international education. He served 15 years as chair at the Art of Music department and then directed the international programs at Armstrong State University for an additional 15 years. Now retired, Dr. Anderson worked as a study abroad consultant with the Dante Alighieri Institute in Siena, Italy, and with the Centro of Lenguas e Intercambio Cultural in Sevilla, España, Spain. As the international director, he worked to develop more than 25 programs to send students over 15 countries in South America and Latin America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. In addition, he established a student and teacher exchange partnership for Armstrong with over 20 universities throughout the world. This includes a partnership with Universidad de La Serena that was begun in 2004 in cooperation with Professor Julio Parada when he was director of the international office. With this partnership, Armstrong sent approximately 250 students and professors to study here for 4 weeks in the month of July between 2005 and 2015. With a grant from the Fulbright Commission, he led a group of 15 teachers to Chile and Argentina for a month to study culture, politics, and education. Over a period of 3 years, 10 students from the University of La Serena also traveled to study for a full semester with grants from the Chilean Department of Education. In addition, Professor Elvis Campos, Julio Parada, and Jorge Olivares traveled to Armstrong as a part of Professor Exchange. Dr. Anderson holds a Ph.D. in music from the University of Texas, Austin, a Master of Music from the University of Houston, Texas, and a BME from Wichita State University of Kansas. With all these pergaminos, please welcome Dr. Anderson.
Thank you very much.
Together with Professor Anderson, today is with us Professor Ned Rinalducci. He is an associate professor of sociology at Georgia Southern Universities. His work examines religions and ethnic political movements and cultural identity. He teaches courses on political sociology, media and society, political terrorism, the sociology of nationalism, the sociology of tourism, and the sociology of the family. Dr. Rinalducci holds a PhD in sociology from Georgia State University as an MS in social psychology from Mississippi State University, and a BS in sociology and psychology from the Florida State University. He is the two-time former president of the Georgia Sociological Association. Locally, Dr. Rinalducci regularly hosts, organizes, and coordinates political candidate forums designed to increase voter and citizen awareness of issues and candidate policies in the community. His last 3 candidates forums received over 23,000 views on Facebook Live, not including views on WSAV.com and aired on television as well. He is currently the director of the Cuba Study Abroad program for Georgia Southern University and has previously taken students to Chile, Czech Republic, Argentina, Trinidad and Tobago, and Vietnam. Please welcome Mr. Rinalducci.
Thank you.
So, to begin with our talk today, we welcome Dr. Anderson to introduce the topic of his ideas on how the education will be from this pandemic on. Thank you very much, Jim. We're ready. We're all ears.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much, all of you, for allowing Dr. Rinalducci and I to be with you today. This topic of doing distance education has been a topic that's been a very important part of my life for the last 15 or so years, trying to find ways to promote it. So what I would like to do to begin with, since I'm now retired and not actively teaching, I want to start first with a little background of what's been happening where we are with distance education. And then Ned, as he is actively working and teaching during the pandemic, he will bring you up what's happening in our area for that particular area. Looking at changes and challenges in distance education. And as I talk to you today, I will probably start using the word online education as opposed to distance education. We kind of throw those back and forth because they have some different meanings. So as many of you know, universities are different from one country to the next in how we approach teaching, how we approach the process of learning. And so we're going to find some things that are going on different from place to place. But as most of you probably already know, distance education has been around in the world for many years, trying to, particularly at the beginning, reach the students who do not live close enough to the universities to attend them. And at the beginning of this, there was pretty crude equipment used to do telephone line transmission, and generally was sending out lectures by audio and then video. But unfortunately, students could only listen and take notes. They could not respond back and ask questions and get a better understanding. So those were the very early days. And when I was visiting Chile and Argentina universities back in around 2002, 2003, 2004, I was hearing a lot about them working on developing distance education. That was becoming a very important part of that. And eventually, both in the US and here, we began using satellites to transfer that information, so the quality was much improved. Then we had the World Wide Web come into being, and so the idea of online and distance education came into its own as a valuable way of teaching students from the home campus to wherever the students were at that time. And there could be two-way transmissions back and forth. So what we're going to look at today is how has distance education been operating in our university where we are on the coast of Georgia. Now, before I get into that, a little explanation that my university, which has now become a part of a larger university, which is Georgia Southern University, which is where Ned now works, is a part of about 25 to 30 universities in the state of Georgia, and they all belong to one system organization. So they have a lot of things in which they operate the same in terms of online learning. Back at Armstrong, we had distance education going on probably as early as 2000 or a little before by a very small group of professors. And generally the process was the teacher outlined a series of lectures, assignments, put them online. Students went online at their own time period, got those assignments, filled them out, turned them back in, and often never even saw the semester during the teacher during the semester. The process seemed to work quite well. The classes were very popular, particularly by those who didn't live close, maybe people who had small children who could not come to class, and people who worked during the day and could not attend the classes. So this seemed to work quite well, and we found more and more students asking for this kind of teaching because it made it possible for them to learn. During the next few years, our university began seeing the value of such programs, and they began setting up workshops to train us and more of us to be able to build the modules that we could teach the same way, not person to person, but online scheduling of events and classes and things like that. And they began having better software to use, and eventually got it where they could actually, maybe one day a week, they would actually talk to their students live, which is what we're doing now, or the students would work on their own. Now, as another part of this, you may not be aware, but in the United States schools, students are required to take about 15 classes of academic matter that has nothing to do with what their primary study is. If you're in biology, you still take 15 classes of courses in math, English, science, history, the arts, and social sciences. And these courses are pretty much common in all of our universities in Georgia and often use very similar content. So the university system says, well, you have all these classes that are similar. We can start offering these classes online because every one of you have to take the classes. It doesn't matter whether the teacher's from your university or from another university. And they begin categorizing these classes as e-core classes because this is a core that every student takes. And sometimes now it's referred to as e-learning, electronic learning. By about 2010, our university even began offering degrees that you could take only by taking online classes. You never had to set foot on our campus. You could do all the classes from wherever you lived. You could have done them from Chile, you could have done them from another state in the US or wherever. Not all classwork, but I think in the area of health science and information technology, those were available. Ned, you may know of some others back then. Of course, there were lots of questions among faculty about, oh, can they really learn if they're not with me in my classroom? And students would also say, well, I don't learn as well. But when we had students that said, I learn better because I can control the content. I don't have to wait around for the slow people to figure out what's going on. I can do it at my own speed. So we had a lot of difference of opinion. So the university began working to have more of online classes available, but still keep the regular classes. Our professors, often they would split. They would maybe have 2 classes in the classroom and 1 to 2 classes they would do online, so that more and more people were ready to handle the online learning content. With all of this improved equipment and software, our distance education became much more possible, and we did other things. The international office, of which I worked in, we began to connect with other universities and their professors to encourage them to present lectures online for our students. So our students in economics would hear lectures from an economics professor in, say, Hungary, or they would do it in the Czech Republic, or we even had some coming in from China, so that we felt like we were bringing the world to our students, even if our students couldn't get out into the world. We also sponsored some live research seminars where students had done some very important research would actually come together and do presentations to each other once a year from all over the world. In fact, one of your English students actually did a presentation for us about 7 years ago when we were doing that back then. So we're going along, more and more online learning, and then suddenly in February and March, what happens? The virus hits, and the universities were required across the country, particularly in Georgia, to shut down. Everything shut down back in February and March. And what they tried to do was, okay, how can we do this? Well, the teachers that were doing online learning changed all of their classes to online learning, but in different kinds of ways. So now that we're kind of up to 2000, it's time for Ned to take over and talk to you about the various kinds of ways that we're doing this and how students are dealing with this. So Ned?